Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another marine ECM test. This time it's actually a comeback from James Hart in Indiana. So his boat is running, but it cuts off like close to 2,000 RPMs. Sometimes that's a little hard to reproduce in here exactly, but I can definitely reproduce his concern. So what I want you to see is the computer is actually running perfectly, and I have 100% power, which if I go over to the history, which I have my set some more files in here. So let me go over to his folder because that's probably the best way because I saved his history as soon as I came here. So let me just give me 1 second to locate that one. Should be very quickly right here, second visit. And I'm going to open the history. So I captured this just moments ago. One thing that I will always do, let me raise this or make this a little bigger. So I always record my temperature, so 165.2 as coolant temperature, and then the manifold intake temperature at 7160. Total hours of 120. Let me see. Total hours. Come on, I cannot see the hours in here. I think it's 128.20, but we will see that at the end. So if I bring this to the bottoms, yeah, 128.80. So those are the total hours. I reset because I put, a fresh calibration on it. So we have all these hours in here are what he runs. So he ran the boat in idle pretty much almost 2 hours, and then close to half an hour from 750 to 1500 RPMs, a little over half an hour from 1500 to 3000, and then like 2 minutes or so in the rest of the RPMs. So 128.80, these are the history. So this 128.80, if I go and see the temperatures, they don't match what I have. You see 152.60, 125.6. So these are his. It says IAC output. I think he was disconnecting this when he created this just to see if they both run or run better. And it did at first, but it didn't change much. Let me just make sure. Yes, I got the IAC connected in there, and this is the IAC output substituted value, and I don't see anything wrong with that. So going back in the history, so we got the hours in here, finally 127.40. So I know for sure that that was not here. So we got EST1 open. The EST1 is in the distributor, and this is a signal. It's a 5-volt reference signal. They will, make or almost 5 volts, and I will show you that in a second. It says the volt stall. I see very good voltage, 1308. So I'm right here. So 1308 voltage even after a stall. That means the charging system is good. We have 100% power, which is good. So if I keep scrolling up, let's see if I can do this in here. So do the next one, 128.80. This was running, and again, the temperatures are not mine. I know that he told me that he was going to replace, I think, the TPS and the oil pressure sensor. So I'm not really too into these faults because they're at the last, same as in the AIC. I like to see the battery voltage with the engine now running of 1408. That is good. And the rest of the values are looking good. So let's keep going up. Sometimes a little hard to do that with the touch screen, but it looked like I was able to do it. Again, the oil pressure, this is not in the 128.80, so he might have an oil pressure circuit, and that is part of the 5-volt reference. He told me that he did replace the oil pressure sensor, and probably because of these two, because I said, if we have a shorted sensor that is pulling down the 5-volt reference, that will definitely kill the computer, right? But right, so keep analyzing this. Let me go up more. This is what is for me the most important one, the shift anticipation switch. So this is a 4.3 Mercruiser, so it's an alpha engine, and they have this switch that will kill the ignition. It is meant for you to not, have an engine running unless it's shift to, to move. So it's shift and either neutral gear, but and the computer will know if you are actually running the boat, so it will stall and the boat will not move if it's something like this happen. If the switch is intermittent, that will definitely kill the EST and the injector. So the other fault can be a result of this and not the other way. If we have an EST fault, that will not create this fault, the chip anticipation switch. But if we have this fault, this will create a EST1 fault. So we have another fault in here going up. Fuel pump circuit relay. Not sure if he was doing again some tests. 12587. So, but all of this is now working properly. So I don't have any faults of those, but I can definitely reproduce the ship anticipation switch, which is this first switch in here. What I want you to see is first, well, let me describe the signals. This is the tachometer. The green signal is the EST signal, and then the two injector banks. This is a batch fire injection system, so we have bank 1 and bank 2, and I can see also the EST signal in here. If by any chance, let's say I have an intermittent chip anticipation switch, which I'm going to do here, I want you to see this. You see the light right here now flickering, and it both stalls. So I'm going to run it again. You see the light is nice and steady. Hopefully the camera rate per second is showing that. But when I do this, it starts to flicker even more. And we can see that. So I'm going to run, again, one more time. Let me run the boat. So we're running and we can see that on the green channel. When I do, let's say like a intermittent anticipation switch, I want you to see, you see how now the ESC signal start to go loose, or loses the signal. So I'm going to do it again. So we got a nice and steady green channel. That's very important because otherwise the computer needs to see the EST signal, otherwise it will kill the injectors. If by any chance that switch is intermittent, right, which will, I can reproduce that here. Look at the green channel. I'm going to kill it now, and we can see how it's firing by firing very uneven, and then finally the injectors cut off. So obviously when that happens, he's going to have to put the shifter into the correct position and try to crank the engine. And that would be like me doing this, and now the boat runs again. So this, I think, is what James is might be and what is happening in there, because I can run if I know my switch is good, and I have multiple switches that I can use. So I have all these switches in here. So I got 2, 4, 6 switches that I can use, and they do the same thing. So I know if I get one bad, I can move the cable over to the next one, and that will work, and that is not a problem. But so this is again, if I let's say if I turn this off, right? I'm turning the engine off and I move this to the not correct position, I can get that fault in here. You see, shift anticipation code is active. If I move this to the correct position and now I erase the faults and I read the faults again, I only get the trim circuit high because it's not connected. And I do have it, I can connect it, but I always leave those disconnected on purpose to make sure the logic and the computer and everything is working good, right? So that is why I am very lenient into believe that the problem that he might have is with the chip anticipation switch. RPMs were a little too low there. Let me make sure I'm doing this because I'm trying to reproduce his concern. So if I raise this now to 2000 RPMs, and that's the difference in here. Since my crunchy position sensor is based on that RPM that I'm given, right? So I can move the TPS to around, let's say 15%. I will not be able to reproduce the kill of this because my RPM signal is not cutting. So even if I move this now into there, like the chip anticipation switch is now open. I cannot reproduce that in here. Why? Because I'm already up into higher load. And my crankshaft position sensor is not being cut off as in a boat. So the only way that I can reproduce that is if I bring the RPMs down to 800 or so, because that will do the same thing. If I go down to let's say 800. Let me bring the TPS down to, like 7 or 8%. If I move this switch, You see now I'm starting to lose. You see, and it die because you will see in a second now, no injectors, no nothing. So this is what for me is happening because if I turn that off, and now reset the computer, it runs immediately perfect. And I have run it for multiple starts. All the signals are there. IAC is nice and bright, and I can see that happening as I increase the RPMs. The IAC duty cycle will change not only with the RPMs, but also with the throttle position. So we're now in a 36% of IAC. I'm around 50%. So let me change the map a little bit too. Make sure I'm in the correct. This is staying in 36%. So let me raise the RPM a little more. Yeah, we are now getting 40%, and I'm right here. So 50% do the cycle, and I can see that on the bulb getting brighter. So that IX circuit is completely fine. So no issues on the IX, no issues on the 5-volt reference. Everything is staying good, and I right now don't have it connected, but I have. I mean, like I said, I've been running this for a while, so I removed some of those signals. Let me just put this back. All right, the 5-volt reference is there. So that sensor ground and 5-volt reference, so that is for all the sensors. It's always there. So I'm going to bring this down to again the 800 RPMs mark, and we're going to see that the 5-volt reference gets cut off because that's the way it's designed to be. So let me bring the throttle to around 6% or so. That's okay, and let me bring the map to like around 6 psi. That's how I usually do with this. And now we're going to switch this. So as soon as I do that, we'll start seeing the miss of that on the EST signal, but fiber reference is good. All right, so fiber reference is sustained. That is not affecting any of the circuits. So it's not a short in the computer. So it is a problem on the chip anticipation switch. I'm gonna call James to see if he did some tests on that circuit. Otherwise, I'm going to keep proceeding with more testing, but I cannot reproduce his concern in here. Again, I can raise it up to 2000 or so RPMs, and I'm going to do that. Let me go over to 2500 RPMs. I'm going to move the throttle to around 20% or so and raise the map accordingly, around 8% or so, or sorry, 8 psi. But we see that all signals are nice and steady, EST to injector banks, and the RPM, so nothing is changing. 5-volt reference, IAC is there, so nothing, no problems in here whatsoever. Not a problem in the computer, so I still believe that we have a very good working computer and nothing is wrong with this. I'm going to keep it running, James, for longer and see if he hits up. And I have already outside the video, I always have a heat gun, and what I do is I got this thermistor in here. This is a K-type thermistor that I attached to the case, and I usually bring the computer around 200 degrees just to simulate like a very hot day, very hot engine room, and see if that is actually happening. But talking to James, he said that this happens really quickly, 10 minutes or so of heat using the boat. So, all right, guys, I'm trying to just gathering information, data for him as well. And as far as what I see on the data from the codes, I will be leaning into either the EST or the anticipation switch, and that for me that will be in the first order the switch first, and otherwise the EST signal, and that could be wiring, because that is obviously another situation that he might have replace sensors or so, but that doesn't mean the harness is perfect. And we have, remember, when this computer came first, this computer was with water intrusion, not a heavy water intrusion, but definitely with water intrusion. Right now, the computer is nice and warm, and I can show you that if I turn this on. Let me do this 1 second. All right, I wanted to share how I do it. So now I put the temperature sensor, again, the K-type temperature sensor, and it's reading 90 degrees. So I can use that one in there very easy. And then I use just a heat gun. So all I'm going to do is start to go around, not exactly at the sensor because you don't want to, immediately put that temperature hot in there. But this is kind of like reproducing what is happening on the boat, right? And we can see how the temperature is immediately raising. Now we have 130 degrees. So what I usually do is, because this is an aluminum casing, it will dissipate the temperature really quickly. So I'm going to raise it up and everything is running good. We have it live running, so nothing is changing. I'm going to raise the temperature in the case very quickly. Again, not straight on the sensor. You want the sensor to pick it up, to pick up the temperature from the case itself. So we're in 170 right now. Nothing is changing. So 170 degrees Fahrenheit, 180, 190, 200 degrees. So you see, we got the 200 degrees. That computer is in 200 degrees, and you see that the computer itself, the case, dissipate the temperature really quickly. And that's, I mean, it's a heat sink. This is not just a case to protect the computer, it's also a heat dissipator, right? So it's taking the temperature and inside the board and dissipating it out. And if the engine is hot, because the component needs to be in a kind of like medium temperature to work properly, not in a freezing point. So what they do is take the hot air from the engine and make this go into a normal operating range of temperature, so all those capacitors and diodes and everything are working properly in case it's too cold outside. But as we can see, that didn't change a bit of anything. Computer is running good, not cutting off, no problems. And now the temperature is dropping down to 130. So this is how I do it. This is exactly what I do, and I do reproduce heat and vibration. So now that I have that in there, I also start, because this is nice and toasty, start to, trying to see if any vibration is causing a drops. And I'm going to just do this in here, and we can see no drops on any of the signals. Everything is nice and steady. So yes, nothing loose, nothing crack, nothing related to temperature. All signals are present. I over stress all computers in here before I send it to you. And I told James, we might need to get somebody with a diagnostic equipment, or I am going to probably recommend James to get, a Diacom like the one I have here. I always recommend everybody to get the laptop based or Windows based Rinda Diacom software, because if you got the code reader that does not record data, I like to have this because in here I can go over to this camera and I can press in that, and now it's recording all these values, and that's what I need from you. So just connect it to the computer, connect the laptop to the diagnostic port, and then start the engine and let it run. Let me see what I see, because this is, if we see or I see something cutting off on the signals or anything in here that I cannot pick in here, then I can help you diagnose the boat, because definitely it's definitely not in the computer. But if I start seeing, something that is dropping out, because, this is nice. It tells me the fiber reference is good. I can see the lake temperature, manifold pressure. It's nice. It would be nice for Rinda, or, well, not Rinda, actually, Mercruiser, to give us injection milliseconds, which they can do, but for some reason, they don't put them on the diagnostics. No idea why. But they can, but it's never been in there. All right, so is the oil pressure and so, because if the oil pressure goes low, I mean, I can see the oil pressure in here, but the false, it says oil pressure low, and they not even give you what the oil pressure was. So why you have that data and you don't give it to me, right? But well, either way. So again, James, I hope that you can see that I am over stressing and performing a really good test on your computer, and I cannot find anything. The only thing that I see based on the faults that I see from the history is that switch. I will start with that, and otherwise you're gonna have to check your harness. He's actually even thinking of buying another computer online. It's not the same family, because this is an ECM0501, and he's getting an ECM0708, which I think is a newer model. Uh, not think, I know it's a newer model. It has a newer calibration, but it's the same pinout.
So he's going to try to run that if we don't find anything in here. And I think that is going to just give the same results because I don't think it's anything wrong with this computer. All right, guys, thank you so much for visiting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.